Hey guys, Avilo here again with a metagame update number 22. This one is Blizzard. I think I'm titling this one Blizzard are finally balancing the damn game. Yay! Who the fuck would have thought? Finally, they're balancing the game. So what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Are they finally listening? Are they realizing that every game on ladders against Protoss? Are they gonna do anything? Sort of. Let's. I'm gonna go over here in a second. Exactly what it is that Blizzard is doing. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I'm gonna acknowledge here. Blizzard finally, before their game goes and crash. You guys have heard me say this before. StarCraft 2 is like an airplane, and it was crashing and burning because Blizzard's doing nothing. The game is, TvP was, it still is completely fucking broken. And the game's crashing and burning and they weren't doing anything. Finally, they're acknowledging, hey, we should probably fucking do something. So that's the first thing to get out of the way here. It's good that they're acknowledging it. Now let's actually address the, what they're proposing here. Now, what is this Protoss nerf that we've all been waiting for? Well, there's been a lot of talk about what to nerf for Protoss. Nexus Cannon obviously is way too good, too easy to use. One-click button that anybody can do from Bronze to Grandmaster is way too easy. That's why there's a lot of Protoss players in Masters and GM that actually don't belong in that rank right now, to be completely honest. Here's the thing. First of all, here's what Blizzard or David Kim have said in their thread. They said they're going to reduce the Nexus Cannon duration by 20 seconds, from 60 to 40 seconds. So what does this do to balance TvP? Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't do anything. See, here's the thing, guys. The Nexus Cannon is too good, yes, but that's not... Like, nerfing the duration is, well, that's definitely necessary. It's not, like, that doesn't balance the matchup anymore. The problem with the matchup, not only is the Nexus Cannon is a contributing factor to why this is so Protoss favored. The real reason was other buffs, like the Oracle buff, way too fast. That should be fucking reverted. Oracle's guaranteed damage every game. You can proxy them and get free wins. That should have been reverted like a month ago. But here's the thing: there's too many options early game for Protoss and too few options for Terran. It's been said a million times. Terran can either Reaper expand or go 1 rack CC. You can't really 1 rack CC anymore. You can go 15 CC. You can go Reaper expand, or you can do a fast factory. All of which are scoutable, and all of which have their own downsides. And basically, Protoss knows what you're doing 100%, where you don't know what they're doing. Your cards are shown as the Terran. Protoss, you don't know what cards they have necessarily. And so, the first thing, addressing... They need to do something more here for TvP, because there's Blink all-ins, there's Oracle proxied all-ins, proxy robo all-ins, the list goes on, and also their new map pool is going to make Blink all-ins even better than it was before. They need to tone this down. The Mothership Core, toning it down, here's the other thing. Why are no other Terran builds viable in the early game compared to Protoss? The Nexus Cannon, of course. So if they're going to nerf the Nexus Cannon, they need to nerf it in a way that a Terran player can open up with, let's say, a Banshee. Do you guys remember Banshees? Yeah. You guys remember those in Wings of Liberty? People used to build those against Protoss as an opening, and then that opening completely died because of the single-handedly because of a 13 range Nexus Cannon that lasts a minute. So if they want to bring back some variety to the TvP early game, what they need to do is they need to nerf the Nexus Cannon to the point where 30 seconds, not 40 30 seconds is enough, man. You click your Nexus, you got 30 seconds of defense. 40 seconds is still way too much. But also, they need to open up builds like, Hellion openings, Banshee openings, stuff like that, so Terran has more options. Either that, or tone down the amount of options that Protoss has. But for example, something they can do here, reduce the range of the Nexus Cannon along with the duration. Nexus Cannon right now has the same range as a siege tank, and it shoots ground and air units. That's right, it shoots ground and air. So if you open, so like I was saying, if you open with a Banshee, with the Banshee, you can't do any damage. They click their Nexus, they have an observer, or they have the Oracle for detection in many cases, and then you're fucked as a Terran player, because usually a Banshee build involves opening with a 1/1/1, and then the Banshee has to do damage to make up for the cost of teching without an expansion. The issue being that it doesn't do any damage anymore because of the Nexus Cannon. So more builds can open up here, but here's some other ideas. If they don't want to nerf the Oracle obviously it's completely broken as well, but really it's broken because of the insane multitude of options that Protoss has. But if they don't want to do that, here's two other things they could do that would help against that. If they don't want to nerf Protoss's options, what they can do here's this. How about this, guys? And I've actually read these suggestions on the forums, and I agree with them. And I've made here's a suggestion I made during the beta in one of my previous metagame updates. Remove the missile turret, the engineering bay requirement for missile turrets. Remove that requirement. So if you scout a proxied Stargate for oracles, you can immediately, boom, 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 immediately build a missile turret, and you're not. The difference being, you don't have to have an eBay and then a turret. So if you scout a proxied oracle, you won't need that eBay. You'll just need a barracks. So in that case, it's not an automatic loss. It's not this build order win ridiculousness that it is right now, where you scout the proxy Stargate and you didn't already have an eBay, so the Oracle is guaranteed to do damage or just win the game immediately. So how about that? How about they make it so you can build a turret off of a barracks without the eBay? That would help weed out these Oracle all-ins, make them less, make it less, give Terran better defense against this shit. If you're gonna have, if they're gonna leave all of this stuff for Protoss. And here's the second thing along the same lines that I read this suggestion in the forums. Sensor tower. How about you reduce the price of the sensor tower, make it like 50-50, or make it 100 minerals, 50 gas. Do something, because a lot of people don't know this, although recently we saw a pro gamer do it. I did it first ages ago on ladder. You guys all know this that watch my stream. But sensor tower is actually really good against blink all-ins. And once again, I read this suggestion somewhere, either on Reddit or the TL forums or the Battle.net forums. How about they reduce the gas price in the sensor tower? So if you scout a blink all-in, boom, you can plop down a sensor tower. Suddenly you have a reasonable way to defend against these Protoss all-ins. If they go Oracle and the proxied Stargate's there, you can build a turret. Suddenly the game is not so one-sidedly like you're dead. The Protoss just wins in 5 to 8 minutes or whatever. Or if they go blink all-in and you scout it, you can build a sensor tower, and suddenly you have a much better grasp on the game and a way to defend it, because really the thing with blink all-ins is you don't know which way they're going to blink into your base, and a sensor tower at that point in the game is expensive for 100 Vespian gas. It slows down all your tech and everything else. So how about that? Those are two things that would actually help nullify two Protoss all-ins, so that Terran can defend a bit better. Not only that, on top of that, that actually makes Mech better, indirectly, because sensor towers are a huge part of Mech play. With Mech, you have to be in position, right? And a sensor tower is a huge deal. Just having one or two sensor towers around your base, that would actually be an indirect Mech buff. If you reduce the gas price on the sensor tower, suddenly a meching Terran can afford that in their build. Suddenly it's like, wait, well, wow, that now I can be in position, I can have my units in position, and I can afford to build that. It's more affordable to build that building. So those are some ideas to help alleviate Terran versus Protoss if they don't want to go the route of nerfing Protoss all-ins. If they don't want to go that route, if they want to leave such options in the game. Now, if they're not going to do anything for Terran, if they're not going to do little tweaks like that, then they absolutely need to fucking nerf Protoss all-ins because they're bullshit. You can't have the game where one player has 20 options to win and the other guy is fucked and can't and doesn't have the same options to outright win the game. So it's one of the two. They got to decide which way they want to go there. But those are some ideas there. So that's TvP in a nutshell. Closing thoughts on the photon overcharge nerf. I think if that's the only thing they're gonna do, nerf the duration by 20 seconds, I guarantee you the matchup will remain as shitty as it currently is. 100%. Like I said, I've said it in a previous metagame update. You know that gun to your head balance test. If somebody puts a gun to your head, like if somebody put a gun to my head and said, do I think that just nerfing the duration by 20 seconds is going to make TvP any better? I would say absolutely no, it's not. It's not enough. It's not going to do jack shit. All the all-ins are still in the game. Everything is the same as it was. It's still an easy 40-second defense. So no, that has to be 30 seconds at worst, and it needs range nerf or something else, or make it 125 energy to cast. So you can't cast two of them consecutively. Something there has to be more, tweaked more. A 20-second duration. The matchup will be exactly the same as it is now. Terran will only have 3 options: your Fast Factory, 15cc, or Reaper Expand. That's it. Protoss will still have all the options in the world. They'll still be able to kill you with all their all-ins. So yeah. Closing thoughts, that alone, the 20 seconds, is not going to change anything, TvP. It'll be exactly the same. And I know that's cynical. Some people might say that's cynical to think that, or that, oh, you should wait and see if the 20-second duration is going to... No. Let's use our common sense. Nothing is going to change in the matchup at all. You're not going to be able to go Banshee. There's not going to be any different openers going to be able to do. It's going to be exactly the same. So they need to do something more there. And like I said, if they want to make Terran's defense against all-ins from Protoss a little bit better, then missile turret, no eBay requirement, sensor tower, cheaper gas price, those could help out against blink all-ins and against the proxied oracles. That would be a great solution that still leaves Protoss those options on the table, but then gives Terran options to defend them as well. See what we have going here? See what we have going here? Protoss, obviously they can't just nerf the fuck out of Protoss either. They don't want to just nerf Protoss, because then the game will be like, oh, okay, Terran and Zerg are OP. So they shouldn't do that, but they got to do something else, So maybe doing something like that for Terran would help. The only counter arguments to removing the eBay requirement would be, oh man, that's gonna make Terrans they're just gonna spam turrets everywhere, and you're not gonna be able to hurt. Well, only the newbies are gonna make like 5 turrets. Only the noobs are gonna make like sensor tower 5 turrets like at the start of the game. Like nothing will change. People are still gonna build sensor towers and missile turrets later on in the game regardless. You need those things later on in the game as a Terran player. It's just that having them more readily available against the new Protoss bullshit of Blink and Oracles, faster Oracles and stuff, would make the game more fair and balanced. You see what I'm getting at? They should balance the game. And as for how that would affect the other matchups, TvT, it's not going to change much. Once again, you're not going to be spamming turrets. It may make Cloak Banshee a tiny bit weaker, but yeah, people already defend that pretty easily with Ravens, or they go turrets. Once again, it's not like people don't build turrets; they just build them a little later. So people will still build turrets regardless if you're going Cloak Banshee or not. So yeah, I think those would be some easy changes that would help TvP and not really change anything anywhere else. Maybe in like Bronze or Silver League, you'll have people building a turret at like 2 minutes in the game, but those are the noobs. So it's fine. The better players aren't going to do that. So next change, Roach speed. They're going to further increase the speed of the burrowed movement. Now, you guys have heard me rant about this before. Is David Kim on fucking crack? Why does he want to make every unit faster in the game? Like, I guess this is directed at the Blizzard balance team, but come on, Blizzard. Come on, David Kim. Like really? You can't... Making units faster is not balancing the game. Like, it seems like every patch some fucking unit gets faster, like roaches, warp prisms, oracles, like everything is getting faster. Like, you don't need... That's not... Making stuff faster doesn't balance the game anymore. It just makes shit faster. And then you gotta make other shit faster later on to balance the shit that you previously made faster. Stop making shit faster! Come on! Alright, so now we're gonna get to the next changes here. I'm reading off the changes about the next step for Terran Mech, and this is actually quite disappointing to read because Blizzard has not taken any... They say they want to gather more feedback, but it's obvious reading their next step for Terran Mech that they have taken absolutely no feedback from anybody that plays Terran Mech or plays against Terran Mech. If they did, the armory, here's the first thing, the armory would already be 100 minerals, 50 gas like it is in Brood War. What is the huge problem with Terran Mech? Upgrades. Oftentimes, you're playing the game with a severe upgrade handicap compared to your opponent. So if they make armories the same price as they are in Brood War, you'll see a lot more mech because people can afford the armories, which in turn allows them to afford more factories. And if you can afford the factories earlier on with your upgrades, with the starport, then mech will be more viable because you can upgrade your units while also getting your production, which is what I've said in a past metagame update as well. You know, taking that 50 gas off of each armory is huge. It's huge because every factory you build is 100 gas. Every starport you build is 100 gas. Every tank is 125 gas. Blue Flame is 150 gas. Transformation Servos is 150. All these things cost so much Vespene gas. A Raven, 200 gas. So if they reduce the price of armory so you can get them a little bit earlier on in the game, so you can begin upgrading your units earlier, and so you can afford more stuff like factories earlier on, that helps mech a ton. It's an indirect buff to mech because it does not mess with the unit balance of the game. It changes 0 unit statistics. It's such an easy buff that will... It won't impact anything anywhere else in the game. It won't imbalance any unit interactions. Cheaper armories. That's the first thing. The next step for mech should be armory price reduced to Brood War price. And I emphasize armory price to Brood War price, 100 minerals, 50 gas, because that's what it was in Brood War, and it worked. It's worked for 14, 15 years, and mech is viable in that game. And that's a huge reason why. So the next thing here, the next step, and the next things I'm going to read are disappointing. They say they want easier access to here's the first thing. They're looking at higher armor damage for siege tanks. That's not the problem with siege tanks. They don't need higher armor damage. The reason siege tanks don't work in TvP like they should is because they don't do enough damage, period, to charge lots, Archons, all sorts of ground units, like any blinks, to all the things. Siege tanks do not hold their ground when they're in siege mode, but especially the immortal. But giving them higher armor damage is a terrible idea. Let me go over this in depth. Why this metagame update may be a little long, but I have to go over this one in depth. The reason higher armor damage is bad: Terran versus Zerg. Suddenly tanks are gonna just, steamroll roaches, which that might be a little too much against Zerg, against like roaches and stuff. Even more armor damage. I love playing mech, and I would love it if they made mech even easier to play against Zerg. But even myself, I'm sort of questioning. That would make them too strong against like roaches, perhaps. It would be nice against ultralists or whatever, but then roaches become even more trash, which is probably not a good idea. So that's the first thing. Here's the next thing: Terran versus Terran. Suddenly siege tanks are doing even more damage to your opponent's siege tanks. They're doing more damage to Vikings on the ground. They're doing more damage to Thors. They're doing more damage to Marauders. They're also... What else are they doing more damage to? They're doing more damage to Hellions as well. So that would be really, really bad. Oh no, Hellions are light. My bad. But anyways, you get the point. It does too much to the other two matchups, whereas really, Terran Mech is viable in TvT. It's pretty viable in TvZ. It's pretty viable right now. I would say it's more so viable because the Raven and not the siege tank, but that's a whole nother topic. And then TvP, that's where Mech is hurting. So how about this? How about, here's some feedback for Blizzard. How about they add more damage to the siege tank against Protoss shields, just like they did for the Widowmine? So so first of all, to Blizzard, there's already a precedent for you doing this. You've already done this to one unit in the game. You can certainly do it for the siege tank. You can't really make any excuses there that it would be too hard for people to realize that, you know, that's in the game, because you did it for the Widowmine. So how about you do that for the siege tank? How about you do a, you know, plus 25 damage, plus 10, plus 15 damage? Well, siege tank currently does 35 damage. So how about a plus 15 damage to shields for the siege tank? Because won't that make the siege tank better against Protoss? Suddenly players can't just walk into your army. How about you test that? That's something that's easily testable. Not only that, won't a siege tank technically do more damage to immortal shields in that case if it has plus shields on it? Anyways, the point is, giving a siege tank more damage against shields only affects TvP, not TvT, not TvZ, and it makes the tank better against Protoss. And I think that's what everybody wants. They don't want these games. And I've played so many of them over the course of my playing time, where I'll have 10, 15 siege tanks in siege mode, sieged up, and the opponent 1As into them with like 5, 10 immortals, and he kills like 3 times the cost of his units because of the immortal. And I'm just like... And it's also because the charge lots, the Archons, the other units that are charging in, they're all taking up so much damage, the tank doesn't hold its ground. So how about that? Which brings me to the next thing here, that the next step for Mech, they're saying, is they want to remove the Mobius reactor upgrade for EMP. Now, I posted about this. This is not a good idea. Instead of doing that, they should buff Mech. What they're sort of trying to say here is, we're gonna buff Mech by making you play bio, or by making you make bio units. That's your Mech buff, people. Make ghosts. Make a bio unit to play Mech. No. How about you tone down the immortal, or like I said before, a combination. Tone down the immortal against Mech. See, it's the elephant in the room. Blizzard has not acknowledged the immortal is fucking too insanely strong against Mech. It's been like this forever. So how about, instead of doing all this random stuff and making you have to make barracks and ghosts with Mech, how about you buff Mech instead of making you play bio with Mech? The other issue here with what they're saying, and like I said, they're trying to get around the immortal by ignoring it. Don't ignore it, Blizzard. The immortal is too strong against Mech. 99% of players will tell you. So don't ignore the immortal. Do something to the immortal, or give Mech siege tanks plus damage versus shields. But don't ignore the immortal. Making it so you have to build ghosts with Mech, and especially the change proposed here, what I was about to say, this would make bio too good. If you remove the Mobius reactor, that's a buff to bio for absolutely no reason. And bio doesn't need any buffs. There's no reason to remove the that's sort of like a lazy man's fix, just to remove the Mobius reactor. Sure, it takes away a gas cost associated with building ghosts. A 100 Vespian gas, a one-time 100 Vespian gas cost. But really, the issue is, they're basically saying, to make mech better, we're gonna make you build bio units, aka the Ghost, and more barracks. And that's not what they should be doing. They should be buffing mech. The next step for Terran mech, right? This is not for Terran bio, right? Terran mech. We want mech buffed, right? Not bio? Yes, exactly. So the next thing, Blizzard, David Kim randomly put in, they're gonna buff Mech Air. What the fuck is Mech Air? I mentioned on my stream earlier, is this some new airline that Blizzard has, that they're coming out with? It's a new airline called Mech Air. Like, thank you for flying Mech Air, would you like a soda, sir? Like, is this what exactly is Mech Air? I don't think anybody has heard of Mech Air. If they mean Banshees and Vikings, they already buffed those with the upgrade combination buff. Those don't need to really be buffed anymore, right? So I'm sort of confused what Mech Air is. I think everybody is. I think he just sort of put that in there to cover all bases. Anyways, he says, this is the area in which we're least certain. Detailed feedback and good reasoning is appreciated. So, which is exactly why I'm making this metagame update, and giving all the detailed reasoning I can, and trying to explain why easier access to EMP is probably not good, and also the higher armor damage would not be good as well. But nerf the immortal against mech. There's got to be some way to nerf the immortal against Terran mech that doesn't affect Terran versus Zerg, or Protoss versus Zerg immortals against roaches, because I know that's the main thing that people would worry about, and the Blizzard balance team would worry about. If they nerf the immortal against armored units or against mech units, it would that would be dangerous for them, because of the fact that the immortal is so essential against roaches in PvZ. So, which brings me another solution here, and this is the easiest fucking solution in the world, now that I think about it. So, hear me out on this, Blizzard. The immortal currently does bonus damage to armored units, right? To I guess, mechanical armored units. How about this? How about this? If you want to, how about you split it up a tiny bit? So the immortal, just like, let's say, I'm trying to think of the unit that has, well, here's, let me get these thoughts on my head, guys. So, give Terran mech units a slightly different unit type. Make another unit type for mech units. I mean, it's the most obvious thing in the world. And tone down the immortal hardened I mean, I don't know if it's the hardened shields. See, here, there's two lines of thought here. Some people say it's the hardened shields that are the problem. Other people say immortals do way too much damage against mech. So, I don't know. Maybe give the immortal its own unit type, which, I don't know, never mind, fuck that. That's too complicated. Anyways, you get the picture. Like, you get the point of what I'm trying to say. They need to balance the immortal against Terran mech, but make it so that the immortal is still the same way against Zerg roaches and against Protoss armored units as well, like Colossus and whatnot. So I don't know. There could be some potential there for giving mech units a specific tag that the immortal would do less damage, slightly less damage to Terran mech, but still do the same exact damage to Protoss armored and Zerg armored units. So that way, the immortal is toned down against Terran mech, perhaps. But once again, the overall issue here, or the main thing, to sum up all these, the next step for Terran mech, reduce the price on armories, will literally help mech out a lot infrastructure-wise to save a little bit of Vespian gas, which lets Terran mech players get more factories and also keep up in upgrades with Protoss, Terran, and Zerg. That if a Terran's going bio, they just need eBays. They're available at tier 1. Zerg has evolution chambers, tier 1. Protoss has forges, only minerals. These things only cost minerals at tier 1. So tone down the Vespian gas cost on armories. That may open up a lot more mech play, because suddenly mech players will be oftentimes on even upgrades compared to the opponent. And then the second thing, to sum up the next step for Terran Mech, give tanks bonus damage to Protoss shields. Return the tank to its former glory. In the Wings of Liberty beta, Mech was viable against Protoss. People don't remember this. Tanks used to do 50 flat damage. I believe it was 50 flat damage. So how about against Protoss, you add on plus 15 damage against Protoss shields. So that way the siege tank will do plus 30. It'll do its 35 damage and plus damage to armored, but another plus 15 damage to everything Protoss. And then suddenly a tank's doing what it would have done early on in StarCraft 2 when it was actually good against everything, when it did the 50 flat damage. So it'll be more brought back up to that level. Blizzard should not be afraid to do this stuff. These are changes that not only I've thought of, but people have proposed, and they make the most logical sense. So that would be great. I'm trying to think, is that all? I think that's all, guys. This has been a long metagame update. So yeah, if people want to forward this to Blizzard, sure. Thank you guys for listening. Yeah, I don't think TvP is going to change much based off of the initial thoughts from David Kim. I think TvP, if they only do the duration, TvP will be exactly the same as it is now. Roach Burrow, I don't know why they're making it fast. They make things faster. Vroom, 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 vroom. Faster, I guess. Sure. And then the next steps for Terran Mech are doing very simple things. Armory price to Brood War price. Once again, emphasizing that this is not really... I'm not trying to have my ego involved when I'm... Like, if they implement this, I'm not going to go everywhere saying, "Ah, they did it!" But all I'll say is, oh wow, it's the same price as in Brood War. Good move. Good. I heard StarCraft 1's a pretty good game. And then of course, once again, in the initial notes here, they're asking for detailed feedback with good reasoning. So giving tanks bonus damage to armored is not a good idea. It'll fuck up the other matchups, and doesn't really solve the issue that tanks suck against Protoss. So here's what you do. You give them more damage against Protoss only, against the shields, and voila, viable mech. Try it out, man. I'm sure somebody can set up the unit tester and do that. Fuck it, Blizzard can. They could have done that a long time ago. They should be doing that right now. Go do that, Blizzard. Test it out, and you'll see. Oh wow, tanks are pretty good now against Protoss. Sick stuff. Pat ourselves on the back. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow on stream. And I mean, good job to Blizzard for finally fucking balancing the game. At least they're gonna do something. Hope everybody that plays and watches StarCraft, let's all hope that Blizzard actively does stuff, because the last couple months have been like, people honestly, I don't want to say it, but being me, I'm gonna say it anyways. People have been quitting the game because of TvP, stuff like TvP balance. People were actually quitting. Because it is like Nexus can, people were fucking quitting the game. It's the honest truth. And when there's something that blatantly fucked up in the game, people need to speak up and be like, "Holy shit, dude! Like, fix it." And so that's what they're doing now. Finally, let's hope that they tweak things. We don't know what their final decisions will be on how they tweak things such as TvP. But yeah, it's good because people want to know that there's interaction, that they're like, they're watching. They're not just like that they don't give a shit, right? So this is good. Thank you, Blizzard. Thank you. All right, peace out, dudes.